This is a very special thing. It's not so much a news segment, it's sort of a redone segment because today our NFL Network reporter Mike Garafolo joins us fireside in the latest edition of Fireside Chat with Mike Garafolo from the league meetings in Arizona. Beautiful fire table behind Mike, keeping him warm. You've never looked better, my friend. And the Lamar Jackson trade request, I mean, he says it came March the 2nd. Did the revelation come as a shock to anybody around the league?
The fact that he revealed it and the fact that he did it at the right time, the exact right time to have the maximum effect, which was John Harbaugh sitting at his chair at the coach's breakfast to face the media, unaware that this was about to hit, and the coordination on Jackson's end to drop it just at the right moment. Now, my understanding was they were going to do it at some point before the breakfast, but it hit at just the right time to have Harbaugh unprepared for it. Because if it had been a minute earlier, his team of media relations folks would have said, hey, by the way, there's this tweet out there. You're going to be asked about it, whatever. Now, John Harbaugh handled it with aplomb, and I'd expect no less. He's a veteran. He's very adept at handling the media. But the fact that Lamar Jackson came out with this and went public with something that he's been so private about to this point, I think was a surprise to a lot of folks. Now, we had heard rumblings about this, that this was something that Jackson had told the Ravens that if you're not going to pay me what I want, then I'd like to be traded. Not so much a trade request or demand of sorts, but the way that he phrased it was saying he requested a trade. So, yeah, here we are. Here we go, because now this leads to other questions, which is if they don't reach a long-term deal and he doesn't sign elsewhere, does this sound like the kind of guy? I mean, he sounded like he was saying his goodbyes. Does it sound like the kind of guy that'd be willing to show up for training camp and play on that franchise tag or even be there by week one? These are questions that are going to remain unanswered if he stays with the Ravens on that franchise tag.
Okay, but let's assume he doesn't. Mike, how deep is the market of potential trade partners for Lamar Jackson right now? And what role will Meek Mill play in all of this?
Meek Mill, who told Robert Kraft, who then told us in the media that Meek Mill had reached out and said that Lamar Jackson would like to play for the Patriots. Now, that's not technically tampering on the part of Robert Kraft. Was interesting that he told us about that, though. And last week, the NFL telling teams, Ken Francis, who's a business associate of Lamar Jackson, he's reaching out to teams, do not negotiate with him. So I would assume the same rules are going to apply to Meek Mill. Now, it's not a deep pool of teams right now, which is why this trade request, Jay, is really kind of interesting and doesn't really change things all that much, because having the franchise tag and the ability to negotiate with other teams, it's kind of like having already been granted your trade request, because there's compensation that would come back to the Ravens if you sign an offer sheet and the Ravens don't match it. You could also work out a trade. You could say, hey, I've got this team that's going to pay me what I want. Can you work out? I'll sign that tag, and then you guys can trade it and work out compensation. So he kind of already was there anyway. This trade request is more of Lamar Jackson letting us know and letting the Ravens know that he means business and he's willing for this thing to get kind of ugly here. That's really the biggest takeaway from what happened today, Jay.